We're writing equations in slope-intercept form. So first of all, we need to go ahead and review slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. M represents our slope. It's always next to our x. And then our y-intercept is represented by b. That's always the constant. All right, so the first example we're doing is we're writing an equation in slope-intercept form. They're giving us our slope, which is 2/3, and they're giving us our y-intercept, which is 4. So we're going to plug it into our slope-intercept form. Again, our m is 2/3, so we're going to say y equals the slope, which is 2/3. And then we're going to say our plus b, but our b is our y-intercept, which is 4. All right, so in slope-intercept form, our equation for this situation would be 2/3 x plus 4. Okay, so all we're doing is substituting the values. M for slope and b for y-intercept. Okay, in the second example, we're doing the same idea. We're writing an equation, but then we're also graphing. All right, so like we did in the last one, we're using y equals mx plus b. M represents our slope, b represents our y-intercept, so we're going to have y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Now we need to go ahead and graph it. So like we did the last time when we were doing our slope, we're going to do our y-intercept first. First thing we want to do is y-intercept. Make sure we get it on the correct axis. Some people make the mistake and put it on the x-axis accidentally. It's a common mistake. And then from our y-intercept, we're going to do our slope. So we're starting at our y-intercept, which is 1. From there, our rise is 2, so we're going to go up 2. And then our run is 3, so we're going to go right 3. We're going to plot that point. And then we're going to draw our graph. So just a little bit more practice doing the slope-intercept stuff. Next example. This time we're not given a y-intercept and a slope. We're expected to find it from the table. So this is what we're going to do. To find the slope, we're going to find the change in x and the change in y. So those triangles are deltas. In math, they mean we're finding the change. So then if we're looking here, the change in x is each time we're jumping in, in the y column, we're doing plus 2. So that would be our change in y. So our change in y is 2. Our change in x is plus 1. So our slope would be 2/1, which is just 2. So the first thing we can do is find slope. Next, we're going to look at the y-intercept. Now the y-intercept is pretty easy because all we have to do is find the y value when x is 0. So find the y when x is 0. And you guys probably talked about this in Algebra 1. Another way to think about it is f of 0, right? The y-intercept is the f of 0, which says the same thing. When x is 0, what is our y? So in this case, our y-intercept is -2. And then the last step is we're going to go ahead and write our equation. So y equals, our slope is our m, right? So 2x, our slope always comes next to x. And then our y-intercept, we could say plus -2, but it'd just be nicer if we just say -2. Okay, so that one takes a little bit more work because we have to find the slope and the y-intercept before we write our equation, but it's not too hard once we know what we're looking for. Okay, next example. This one has multiple steps, and it's not too bad. It's just that once we figure out how to work with points and slopes a little bit better when we do point slope form in the future, it's going to be a little bit easier because we don't really have to remember these steps, but it's one of the skills that you can do here, and you can use it, but just in this situation. So we're going to go ahead and let's do this in red. Okay, so step one, what we're going to do is our points have an x and a y, right? So we have our slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So what we're going to do here is we're going to substitute the x and the y from our point. So we're going to plug in here, we're going to plug in there. So our y is -5 equals, well, we can also plug in our slope since we're given our slope. Let's do that. So our slope is -3/4. Then we're going to plug in our x. Our x from our point is 8. And then plus b. So we should probably say and m for our slope. Okay, in step 2, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take what we just wrote down and simplify it. So we're going to say -5 equals, when we're doing a fraction times a whole number, we multiply the top. -3 times 8 is -24. And then we divide the bottom. So -24 divided by 4 is -6. Our b is still there. So step 2 was simplifying. Now step 3, we're going to solve for b. So in here, all we have to do is, if we have -5 equals -6 plus b, we're going to get rid of the 6 on the right side because we want b by itself. -6 plus 6 is 0. -5 plus 6 is 1. Alright, so now that we know what our b is, and they already told us what our slope is, now we can go ahead and write it in slope-intercept form. So y equals, our slope was given to us, -3/4 x. And then we just found our y-intercept, which is +1. Alright, so there's a bunch of steps here. It's useful in this situation. Maybe not something that you need to remember down the road, because again, we're going to be talking about how to work in point slope form later on, and that's probably the way you want to do it if we're given a point and a slope. But just for now, we're going to do it in this manner. Okay, the last one, they're giving us a graph. They're asking us to write in slope-intercept form. So step 1, what we're going to do is we're going to identify the y-intercept. So in this case, y-intercept is going to be 1. You could say 1 equals b. That's our y-intercept. And then we're going to find our slope. And we're going to start at the y-intercept. So from the y-intercept, let's count over how much do we go up to this point. Well, we go up 2 spaces, so the rise is 2, and then the run would be 1, 2, 3. So the slope would be 2/3. And then lastly, we're just going to write our equation. So y equals, again, our slope is m, so 2/3. That always goes next to our x. And then our y-intercept was 1. Alright, so that's it. Pretty straightforward. Most of it should be reviewed for you guys, so I'm hoping you're having a pretty easy time doing it. Good job again. Make sure you take your notes and write down any questions that you have. We can talk about them next class. Alright, see you.